Hey friends, welcome back. This is Ashley with Uncommon Roots Homestead, and today I'm over at the land checking on what is already in the garden. I might plant some more spinach and just gonna take some time to be. So I thought I would invite you to join me. So as of right now, we are still hand watering everything in the potager garden, which is not a big deal. But by hand watering, I mean hand watering. Our goal is to actually run water down through the garden and put a spigot there. And that way we have a few more options with irrigation and things like that. Right now, we actually don't have any running water on the property. But our house is under construction. They're going to be running water down to the build site really quickly, or here shortly. So the goal is to run water, like the line actually is going to have to run through the garden anyways. So we're going to stop somewhere in the middle of the garden, put a spigot, run down to the house, obviously connect the house to water, and then continue the line all the way down into Jeannie's pasture and put a spigot there as well. That'll just help us because even though we're going to graze her in different pastures, we don't want to always have to carry water. So for now, we're hand watering. So I've gone ahead and given everything a water. We might get a little bit of rain today, but I don't think so. But I wanted to show you. So I had a dahlia that I bought last, I don't know, it was like fall. It was too late for a dahlia. And I just left it in the garage and let it die. But today I saw it and I thought, you know, I should check on it. And so I pulled it out of the pot and I've started to uncover the tuber. So dahlias, you can start dahlias from seed, but you can also start them from tuber and they just grow a little bit more aggressively. A tuber is obviously a more established plant. So I've bought tubers in the past. So I thought, why not try to plant these? I don't know. This is a total experiment. These might not do anything, but they're not shriveled. They look like they're in pretty decent shape. In fact, I even see, I don't know if it'll focus. I even see a little bit of green coming up on that. So I'm going to plant, I mean, all of this, there's probably, let me see. Okay, there are probably, make sure I'm not stepping in anything. There are a lot of different tubers. So you can see some of them, like that one shriveled up. That might be it that's in here. I'm just going to go ahead and put this soil right on back into the garden. I need to mulch all of these beds. So usually you wouldn't leave the soil uncovered like I have for so long, but that's fine. Okay, so I've got these two. I had one that you can see it had definitely just disintegrated. So that one wouldn't be good, but I've got a few really good ones here. So I'm just gonna gently break these apart and see how many tubers I get. So I've got this one, he looks really nice. Now normally you wouldn't do this after leaving it in the soil all winter. Normally I think you would do this in the fall. I might be totally killing it doing what I'm doing right now, but it's an experiment. So for science, let's figure out what happens here. Some of you who, garden all the time and plant dahlias and grow dahlias are probably cringing inside with the way that I'm handling these. But anyways, I digress. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little tubers here that they all have eyes on them. And they look like they might grow. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna plant them and I'm gonna see what happens. So I'm in one of these beds. My goal in the garden, and I've talked about the potager garden before. So my goal in the potager garden is to have a mix of vegetables and flowers. And I think dahlias are just absolutely gorgeous. And these ones were like yellow and just really pretty. I'm probably not planting these the way that you should. You should probably space them. I'm gonna kind of just jumble them together because I don't know what's gonna happen. I do know that with dahlias, when you first plant the tubers, you really shouldn't water them. So saves me a step. I'm not gonna water them. I'm gonna put 2 in that hole because I think that one is not good. Put this little guy over here. So basically this is just an experiment. I wanted to put flowers on the end of this bed. I like to kind of frame in my tomatoes with flowers. So now I know that I've put some dahlia tubers on this end. If they come up, wonderful, I'll have some beautiful flowers. If they don't, no harm, no foul. I literally left it in the garage all winter long and it's better than throwing it away. Also, this is probably not even the most ideal time to plant these tubers, but I figure even though we're past our anticipated final frost, but there is a frost in the forecast, not tonight, but tomorrow night. But these tubers aren't gonna sprout before then. So again, it's in the garage all winter. If it's gonna live, it's gonna live. Dahlias are actually perennials in my zone. So usually I could just leave them in the ground and they would just come back up. So these are the justifications that I am using myself. Feel free to use them yourself. If you feel like you have to justify something you're doing in gardening, then use whatever justification you need. I break rules all the time. And kind of my philosophy is that this is something I do for enjoyment. Yes, I do it to feed our family and to nourish our family and to be more sustainable. But at the end of the day, I'm doing what I'm doing because it brings me so much peace and joy. So if that comes with breaking a couple of rules, so be it. I'm gonna go ahead. I had one more bag of dahlias, and I ordered some like nice varieties from Kelly, Freckled Herd Homestead, Freckled Herd Farm. I'll link her below, but she sells dahlias and she's like the dahlia master, and I ordered some from her. I'm gonna actually follow the instructions and the rules on those because they were just gorgeous varieties and I didn't want to lose them. But these I picked up at Aldi for like $1.99 on clearance. A flower is a flower, so I'm gonna go ahead and plant them and see what happens. So I did not plan on planting those today, but that's the beauty of the garden. You don't always have to have a plan. So I had a couple of you ask me for an update on the rabbit situation. So obviously it is not ideal to have a family of rabbits living in my garden, but I couldn't do anything about it. You know, they're so little and that's nature, right? That mama rabbit thought that looked like a good place to put her babies. So there they are. So they are happy and healthy down under this onion right here. Yeah. So my plan is to leave them. Rabbits don't stay for very long. In the next, I would say, week or so, they'll probably go ahead and be out of the nest anyways. So I am just going to leave them until they're gone. And then once they are out of the garden, I'll do a couple things to deter rabbits from coming back into the garden. There are some essential oils that you can, place around the garden and things like that. I've read that dog hair in the garden will help detract some pests. So I'm going to do some of those things to try to discourage them from coming back and thinking that this is their, place to find dinner. But for the most part, I'm just going to let them be. They're not hurting those onions. I don't have anything else in the garden right now that they could hurt. My garlic still looks great. Like they're not touching anything else. The mom is not, it doesn't appear that she's feeding out of my garden. Now I did lose one of my heads of lettuce that was coming up. And I'm going to take an educated guess and guess that was the rabbits. But yeah, I'm letting them stay because the advice that I got that said to move them or to get rid of them. There was no way to really do that without essentially just killing them. And that's never my intention here, right? Like, we want to have a sustainable farm. Obviously, we eat meat. We're not, we're not opposed to, I guess, eating animals or killing animals when it comes to the nourishment of our bodies. But all of those decisions that we make and all of the animals that, we ultimately sacrifice for our nourishment, we don't do that lightheartedly. We're not just in the business of, getting rid of animals of any kind, even when we don't like them or if they're not, our favorite. So, yeah. So I also wanted to show you, we is generous because really Kevin has started, but Kevin has started my in-ground space. So we are doing a no-till method. So what he did is he went ahead and mowed the grass so that we're, not starting with a jungle like we have. But he went ahead and mowed the grass, and then we've laid cardboard out on this whole area, and then we've put mulch on top of that. So we're going to actually do that for this entire square. The amount of no-till in-ground garden beds that we're going to have here in the potager garden is about 2,000 square feet. So we have this whole area over here that you see that's mowed, and then, sorry for the car sickness, we have this whole area about 15 feet that way and then over. Where I'm going to put my potatoes, that we're going to do the same method. But basically, we're going to lay out all the cardboard, put mulch on top, and then we're going to do rows of compost and then plant into those rows. So then the mulch, it'll be everywhere. That's to help keep the weeds down. That's why we did the cardboard and the mulch. And then the walkways will just still be mulch. So I wanted to do that for my melons and my squash and my potatoes, because they just don't, there's no reason to put those in raised beds. Melon and squash, they ramble, so they just go and go and go. So it just makes more sense to give them a lot of space to do that. I have a lot of varieties of melon and squash that I'm growing this year or want to grow, so I just wanted to have as much space as possible and not be confined to a bed. So I am going to, I'm going to have arch trellises here in this row. And so with the arch trellises, what I'm going to do is some melons, I'll do cucumbers, and then some small personal Kajari melons or things like that. So we'll have those started and then go from there. Oh, someone's come to say hello. Hi, Robin. So I wanted to take a second and chat while I'm sitting here with my little friend, Robin, and talk a little bit more about why we're doing this. I talk about it a lot and I mention it in passing, but we get a lot of feedback, people who don't understand why we do what we do, or don't appreciate why we do what we do. And I just want to say that that's okay. Not everybody has to understand why you are the way that you are, or why you want the things that you want, or why you do the things that you do. You're not doing it for them. So that's okay. It's okay if people don't understand homesteading and they don't understand, the desire to raise their own food or grow their own meat and feed their family off of their land. That's okay. They don't have to understand. They don't have to understand why we would take in 2 barn cats. They don't have to understand why we would want a family milk cow. They don't have to understand why we would want bees. People don't have to understand, and often they don't, right? Our goal is to hopefully encourage people to open their minds to being willing to hear other people's perspectives and being willing to see things from a different point of view and learn and grow. I firmly believe that we are all imperfect beings, and none of us know exactly where we're going to be or what we're going to want or what we're going to do, in the future. And so it's my goal to always be open and receptive to learning and change and growing. And the more that I dive into that, the more this thought of sustainability and this concept of being able to reduce our footprint and reduce the mark that we're leaving behind on this world, the more important becoming. You know, I remember being a kid and or young and like babysitting, and I remember my mom always saying, when you babysit, always leave their house cleaner than you found it. And that's kind of a rule everywhere, right? If you go camping, always leave it cleaner than you found it. If you go anywhere, like pick up your trash, throw it away. Don't leave your mark on the places that you've been, physically speaking. And the more I think about it, the more I wonder why we don't, as a society, approach life that way. Like, why do we seem so flippant when it comes to the earth and sustainable living and making choices that maybe aren't popular or easy, but that ultimately make the world a better place? And why do we roll our eyes at that? You know, when we say, oh, we're not buying paper towels anymore. Why do we roll our eyes at that? Or if we say, you know, we're limiting our use of single-use plastics, and so we don't want a straw when we go through the drive-through, we'll bring our own. Why do we roll our eyes at that? Like, what is there to condemn or judge about not wanting to leave that negative mark? My goal is to help encourage people to make little decisions that make a significant impact. Because I know that together we can make the world a better place. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be on the right side of history here. I want to make the world a place that is kind and loving and sustainable. And I want to make sure that the world is here for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and my great-great-grandchildren. I don't want to be a part of the group that didn't care what happened to anybody else. And that's why we do this. And you don't have to understand. It's okay. It's okay if you don't understand. But I hope that you are open to really thinking about that and thinking, what is your impact and how can you lessen it or make it better? Because that, I think, is what we're all trying to do. We just want this to be a better place. I will say, I have never considered myself a cat person, but I'm loving having a little garden companion. He's just the best. So I know I told you guys a little bit about the barn cats, but they actually came with Jeannie. And they lived outside. They were barn cats over at the farm that we got Jeannie from. And the owners were changing up their farm a little bit and didn't have room for the barn cats. So we took them in, and Bobby is a little elusive. She doesn't come around very much. We leave the food out and things like that, but we don't see her too often. But Robin, he has become my little buddy, and I hope that you see him in lots of videos to come. Before we go, I want to go over and check on the bees. Just look at them from the outside. I'm not gonna do an inspection. We actually will start to inspect them probably next week. We wanna give about a week of them being here before we open it up and disturb them again. Oh, it looks like they're doing good. I see them going in and out. It's very intimidating to have bees because I feel so much pressure to make sure that they stay alive and that they're okay. You know, they're obviously, like, we have such a problem with pollinators, and we're losing a lot of our bee population because of things that we're doing with herbicides and things like that. So no, Robin, we're not gonna go in the garden bed. Now this might be where me and Robin don't see eye to eye. Not in the bed, buddy. But because there is such a big problem with bees disappearing and dying, I want to make sure that we are, you know, doing everything we can do to have a healthy hive and colony so that we are, you know, being part of the solution, not a part of the problem. I know that there is a lot of controversy about beekeeping and how you should keep bees and things like that. Not really looking to get into that, but what we are trying to do is be the best stewards of the bees that we can be. So I figure I might go ahead and walk down. I'm not gonna walk all the way out to see Jeannie. She looks good though. She's just hanging out in the field. But I thought I would walk down and see what's going on with the house. Isn't it crazy that in a matter of a couple of months, this is going to be a house? Also, come on. What's going on? Who did that? You guys know that I cannot handle litter. I'm gonna have to go get that trash. It's a part of the process with construction. I know that it is kind of a norm. I don't really want my house built on trash. So I'm gonna pick it up and recycle it. I did order a recycling bin and a large trash can to put down here by the build site. We will have a dumpster in here soon. But like, unnecessary. We're just talking about making the world a better place. This is the kind of stuff that we can all change, right? Like, we all have control over that. We all have the ability to change it. All right, friends. Well, I am going to head home and get some dinner. I was going to plant spinach today, and instead I just got a little chatty and planted some dahlias, but that's that lettuce that I said I lost. Bummer. He's done. But still got 4. Anyways, thank you all for joining me today. Together, we can do better. Until next time.